The public hearing of the Board of Adjustments is now called to order at 11:06 a.m. on August 7th. Roll call.
Chair Ida Robbins. Vice Chair Frederick.
Here.
Board Member Chandler. Here. Board Member Morgan. Board Member Pierce.
Here.
And alternate Board Member Wilson.
Here.
We may have our first applicant to come forth.
There are no minutes, correct?
Mm-mm.
Let me just read the first item into the record. The first item is PA 2020-03. Pick this up.
Yeah, I'm not positive that it's working. Go ahead.
I'll go through one of those.
Okay, you want me to read it?
I'll read it right here. The first item is BA 2020-03, Alliance HSP West Palm Warehouse LLC, 40 Morris Avenue, Suite 230, Bryn Mawr, PA 19010. The applicant requests the Board of Adjustment grant variances from Appendix A zoning as follows. A variance of 10% from the required 20% unobstructed non-vehicular open space as cited in Section 7.8J. A variance of 4 feet from the required 25-foot required parking lot dimension diagram 90 degree, a variance of 2.3 feet from the required parking lot dimension diagram of 90 degrees as cited in Section 16.2 parking lot dimension diagram, minimum aisle width, a variance of 3 plus additional access ways from the required 2 access ways, allowing 5 access ways as cited in Section 7.8C, a variance of 243 parking spaces from the required 462 parking spaces as cited in Section 16H1, and a variance of 77.1 feet from the required 150-foot interior access way, eastern, from center line to center line as cited in 7.8C, to make improvements to an existing 234,500-foot industrial building at 1601 Hill Avenue. PCNs are listed on the agenda. And as the applicant is coming forward, I guess come here and state your name into the record. And if you probably could stand here and make your presentation.
Okay. Will I be in anybody's way of looking at the screen if I do?
Maybe we can have her
Because I could
that one.
also go over
Yeah,
there.
let's do that one maybe.
Sure.
If you could get to that microphone, I need to swear you in and after you state your name for the record for the board.
Ken, is that okay with you? Do you know that? Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Madam Chair, board members, I'm Colleen Walter with Urban Design Studios here on behalf of Alliance HSP.
Okay, as you're aware, ma'am, this is a quasi judicial hearing. Could you raise your right hand for me and swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll turn back to the Board of Adjustment and ask if there are any ex parte communications with regard to 2020-03 that need to be disclosed at this time.
No.
Okay, thank you. I'll turn it over to you, Madam Vice Chair.
Okay, Ms. Wilkins.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
Also with me this morning is Ira Bernstein from Alliance HSP. He is the property owner of the site that is located at 1601 Hill Avenue.
Thank you for having us.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your last name.
Bergstein, B-E-R-G-S-T-E-N.
Bergstein, thank you.
The site is located at the very northern limit of the town of Magnolia Park. It is directly adjacent to the municipal boundary of the city of Riviera. and the FPL transmission corridor runs on the northern side of the site.
Yes. He needs,
My pointer will go that
he
far.
needs to go up there.
Thank you, Ira. The site is a little over 8 acres in size, and it is fully developed. There is industrial uses to the west and to the south. The FPL transmission line is to the north within the city of Riviera Beach. To the direct east are also industrial uses, and to the southeast of the site are residential homes. Alliance purchased this property in April of 2019. Currently, there are only 3 tenants within the building, which is over 200,000 square feet in size. Alliance's goal is to bring new businesses to the town and to increase the tenants within the building. And so they have embarked on a series of improvements and enhancements to do just that. And that is what has brought this project before the town for consideration for both variances from the Board of Adjustment as well as preliminary site plan review from the town council. And for the town council and for the Board of Adjustment, there's a series of documents that are required, including the site plan, the landscape plans, the architectural plans. Those have all been reviewed by the town's Development Review Committee. So we've received comments from the Development Review Committee, we've amended the documents, and now we are moving forward with the review by the Board of Adjustment, and then hopefully later this month, the review by the town council. One of the benefits of this building is that it has superior electrical service. The western portion of the building was built in the late 1970s, and the eastern portion in the early 1980s. And the electrical service that was put in is superior. And Alliance feels that that is going to be a very big attraction for any type of tenants who want a very dependable electrical service that they can rely on. However, what they have identified is that the loading opportunities for the site are very constricted. And that is due to the location of the building on the property and the various additions to the building, especially on the north side and the back, that have been done. So the improvements that are proposed are primarily related to providing for better loading and also aesthetic enhancements. Before you this morning are 6 variances. 3 are considered historical variances. And these are for existing conditions on site that predate the current code requirements. Again, the buildings were constructed in the late 1970s, early 1980s, and the code provisions at that time are different than they are today. So the 3 historical variances are to memorialize existing conditions on site. There are then 3 new variances that are proposed as part of this plan of development. So you'll be considering 6 variances this morning. You can see from this slide the building, which takes up the majority of the property. The tenants on the east side and west side, those spaces are occupied. However, the tenant spaces in the center of the building are vacant. The project also includes 2 pieces of property on the south side of Hill Avenue, and those are parking lots that serve this building, along with parking on both the west side and the east side of the building. There are 3 existing access points to Hill Avenue, 2 that are on the east side of the site, and 1 that is on the west side of the site. The proposed improvements include a modification to the rear or the north facade of the building to remove an addition that would allow for additional loading spaces to be accommodated there. And that's reflected right here. The proposal is to demolish a little over 3,000 square feet of the building, and that will allow for loading bays to be accommodated to serve the interior tenant bays, because today there really is no loading opportunity for those interior tenant bays. Another proposed improvement is to modify the two existing entrances to the east and to reconfigure that parking lot. Currently, and you'll see some photos a little later in the presentation, but one of the accesses serves truck access, the other existing access serves vehicular traffic, and we're going to reverse those so that the truck access is cleaner and also improve the parking area, provide for the required accessible spaces, new striping, new configurations. Also proposed are two new driveways from Hill Avenue that will go directly into two of the existing tenant bays. These are the two bays that have the loading constraints on them. So by providing for loading opportunities from Hill directly into those bays, as well as the loading opportunities in the rear, it will make those spaces much more marketable. The other improvements have to do with aesthetics, and they include improvements along the south facade of the building that faces Hill Avenue, as well as additional landscaping, street trees, shrubs for screening to enhance and again, make this building much more attractive for new businesses to come into town. I know you can't see this, but in your staff report, you probably have seen the 6 variances that we're asking for, and I am going to walk through each one of them on slides, so you'll see specifically what the request is for. The first variance is a historical variance for open space. Today's code requires that, that 20% of the site be provided as open space or green space. Again, when the site was developed back in the early 80s, that was not a requirement, and the site today does not currently meet it. So this is an existing condition that a variance is being requested for to allow for the 10% open space to remain. The second and third historical variances are related to the width of the drive aisles within the parking lots in those parcels that are south of Hill Avenue. The way those parking lots were constructed, they do not meet the 25-foot minimum drive aisle. The least dimension is 21 feet, and then there's a variety. So the variance that's being requested is up to 4 feet, and that would allow for the existing parking lots to remain as they are. They currently function adequately. Right now, they're not utilized a lot. The applicant hopes that changes once they get some tenants and new businesses into the town. But the parking lots function adequately, and this variance is to memorialize an existing condition. In the backup documents, you may have also seen reference to a variance for parking space length. However, in reviewing this application with town staff, it was determined that this falls under the purview of the town council. So just in case you're wondering where this request went to, it will be considered by the town council as part of the preliminary site plan. And you'll see that noted in the staff report. The new variances that are being requested are for the number of access ways to Hill Avenue. Today's code limits access ways to 2 per frontage. The site currently has 3. Again, another existing condition that was constructed prior to today's code. The request to add the 2 new driveways to serve the tenant bays in the middle of the building necessitates a variance. And as part of that variance, it will address the existing conditions as well as the proposed driveway. Two. Different from the existing access ways, which really serve overall circulation for the site, these two driveways will enter directly into the building, into the tenant bays. They'll only be utilized by that tenant, and they have been designed so that they can only accommodate small trucks, a 30-foot box truck or smaller. So these are not intended to serve semi-trucks or anything like that. It's really to allow the tenants the opportunity, if they're going to be loading, unloading vehicles, they can get them in the building and do that under cover of weather protection. Variance number 5 is also a new variance, and this is in regards to the overall required parking that would be required and provided. Today's code would require that one space per 500 square feet of building be provided as parking. And that would require 462 parking spaces based on the size of the building. We've worked with a traffic engineer who has provided a parking reduction statement. And the parking requirement that's currently in the town code is excessive for the type of industrial tenants and uses that are anticipated here, which are more mechanical, manufacturing, production, and don't have a lot of employees. So the parking rate that's in the code today assumes a lot of employees. This is more of an industrial type use. So the traffic engineer has reviewed the International Traffic Engineering Standards. They've also reviewed the existing tenants and their parking needs. And based on the reduced parking statement, they have shown that doing these different methodologies, a total of 213 parking spaces is what the reduced parking statement requires. So with the support of the reduced parking statement, we're requesting a variance to reduce the number of required spaces to 213. 219 spaces are provided on the site, so it exceeds the number from the reduced parking. The last new variance that we have is for the separation between access ways onto Hill Avenue. The two easternmost access ways are existing. And had we not been making any changes to these, this would either be an existing nonconformity or a historical variance. But because the applicant is proposing to modify these access points, it is addressed as a new variance. The existing condition has the truck access or the wider access point on the western side. It exists at 40 feet in width. And the access on the eastern side is 25 feet, and that primarily serves passenger vehicles. It does make for a very convoluted access for the trucks to get to the rear of the building because they have to do a double S to get around there currently. So what is proposed is to swap those entrances. So the 40-foot entrance will be on the east side, and that will provide a direct route for the trucks to get to both the existing eastern loading zones as well as the rear of the building. And then the westernmost entrance will be reduced to 25 feet, and that will serve as the access for the passenger vehicles. And that entrance is located closest to the parking spaces. So it provides for better traffic circulation. One of the side benefits of this change is that it also allows for additional landscaping to be accommodated within this area, recognizing that the eastern portion of the site is adjacent across the street to the residences. So by being able to get additional trees and shrubs in there, today there is no buffer along the east property line. So this will create a buffer along the east that we can get trees and shrubs in, and that will help to buffer this area from the residents as well as anyone traveling on Hill Avenue. To To mitigate for these variances and to enhance the building, the applicant is proposing improvements to the front facade of the building. They're going to be putting in new doors that are storefront in nature. They will have glass. It will look more like an office building along the front. Also, handicap access to those doors will be accommodated. As part of the landscape of, say, and the rest of the facade, they will be repainting the building. It will be a bright white, and then they're using blue accents to the building in the form of striping to give it an identity and modernize the look of it. The landscape improvements include green buttonwood trees, which will be planted all along Hill Avenue adjacent to the existing sidewalk. These are native trees, they're hardy. They also have a very nice canopy and will provide shade for that sidewalk, because today there are no canopy trees in that area. There are palm trees along Hill Avenue, and we've designed the canopy trees to enhance the palm trees. There also will be additional shrubs planted to screen the area, paved area on the west side of the building. And as I mentioned, additional shrubs planted on the east side of the building. You can see from this existing photo that there actually is quite a bit of landscape that already exists along the building. And with the proposed improvements, there'll be the street trees accommodated, the additional shrubs, the painting of the building, and it will enhance this. So in conjunction with the improvements that are proposed for the loading and these aesthetic improvements, the applicant is hopeful that this will become the home for many new businesses in the town. Our project engineer and project architect are actually attending by Zoom. I guess if there are any questions for them, Ira and I are both here. Thank you very much for your consideration. We request your approval of these variances, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wilkins. We have heard the explanation of Alliance HSP. Are there any questions or comments?
No, I
Board
went up
members.
and looked at it very much the other day. I went up and looked at it. It's going to be nice.
I do have a question. I had a hard time getting a visual of the parking lots that are directly across, because as the street curves, there's a big tree there. Is it?
Yes, there is a big tree that's
And-
right on the eastern end of the building.
Right, and so is there that's a parking lot that's there?
That's one of the parking lots, yes.
But it's not, it doesn't look like a parking lot today, or does it? No,
Yeah, there's not a lot of striping there today.
Yeah.
It just looks like pavement.
yeah, that's what I was,
You might be referring to the western end, as the road turns around.
Oh, okay, this one.
That's what I'm, yeah,
Okay, yeah, let me,
I think you might be asking. I
In-
think I understand what you're
In
saying.
front of the building.
Okay, no, in front-
What are you talking about here, as the road turns?
yes.
okay.
So this is our second lot, this is the primary lot.
Okay, the primary lot is already has a gate, a fence around it, right?
Yeah.
Which is further down. But it's the first one that I didn't realize that it was a parking lot. Because it's not paved as the parking lot right now, is it?
Well, it's a parking lot, it's a parking lot that has storage trailers in it.
Are you talking about the one that's in front of the building? I mean, to the
There's
east
one
of the
right in
building?
front.
Yeah,
of
that
the
sits
building.
in the corner as you curve the building, yeah. I'm talking about that, yeah, there's a tree, right? You see that green tree that's right there? I didn't realize that was a park, I guess I didn't really pay it much attention, huh? Okay, so that is a parking lot.
How many
Okay.
cars is in that parking lot across the street?
Hmm?
Cars in that parking lot,
It's all fenced in.
it is all fenced in, and the town
Fenced in,
council,
fenced in with a gate.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, that has a gate too?
yeah,
Mhm.
that is
Yes.
gated as well.
Mhm. Okay,
I've both there for about 15 years. Now.
really?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, we have.
Yeah, we keep passing by.
That parking lot has 28 spaces.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you trying to increase that? No, okay.
Not making any changes to either of the two parking lots on the south side.
Yes.
Okay, the second question I have is for the button trees that you're gonna put in the front of the building, are you going to remove the sidewalk?
No, the sidewalk will remain.
Okay.
The sidewalk is within the right of way of
Mhm.
Hill Avenue, so
Mhm.
the trees will be on the north side of the sidewalk.
That's really nice.
The north side, okay. So there's area for that?
Yes. Fortunately, that's one of the first questions we always ask is where are the utilities? Because usually the utilities run in the green area
Mm-hmm.
adjacent to the road, but in this case, there are no utilities, so we can actually fit the trees in.
Okay. I'll come, I mean, Lorraine, third question, then allow you. The traffic, this is gonna increase traffic, cause we got a lot of trucks coming back there already. So it's gonna increase when you get your tenants, new tenants and stuff.
Well, and that's the traffic concurrency versus actual traffic. The project is approved for a certain amount of traffic concurrency based on its square footage. So actually, from a traffic concurrency standpoint, the impacts go down because they're demolishing 3,500 square feet. But from a practical standpoint, right now, the vast majority of the building is vacant. So quite frankly, the goal is to increase the traffic by filling the building with tenants. But by putting all of the loading on the rear of the building, I can speak loudly, what that will do with the reconfiguration of the entrances is the trucks.
Come down 53rd Street.
Mm-mm.
The trucks will now be able to come in here and get around the back of the building and then exit this way.
Mm-hmm.
So that it puts all of that activity on the back side of the building.
Right.
And takes the traffic off this section of Hill Avenue.
Okay, that's better, thank you.
Very good.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Lorraine, are you,
Okay, ma'am,
Yes,
you're going to reconstruct two more driveways in and out here?
correct. These two driveways here exist and they'll be reconfigured.
Right,
We are adding two driveways, one here and one here.
okay.
And those will go directly into the bays,
Okay, into the,
into the bay itself,
Loading
right
bay.
into the building.
okay.
Yeah.
And that will take away some of the traffic that would be out on the street.
Correct. They'd be able to just go into the bay itself if they're loading things
Mhm.
in vans.
Mhm.
And then they would be able to turn around in the building, that's one of the conditions.
Mhm.
And then they would have to pull forward out.
So you're gonna be doing a lot of reconstruction in there to get all that done.
Yes, actually, Alliance has already started a lot of the interior
Okay.
renovations to
Okay.
start to make the spaces marketable.
Okay.
We just completed a new roof of the building.
Mm-hmm, okay,
Not hurt.
okay, that's all I had to ask.
I think that's nice.
how many tenants are you, expecting to have in that type building?
There are currently, as Arlene said, there's one tenant on the western end of the building, and there's two tenants on the eastern end of the building. And we have three spaces in the middle, which we'd be looking to fill with up to maximum three. One might combine two of them. So it could be, it's anywhere from 1 to 3 tenants in the middle of the building in these three spaces.
Okay.
So a total,
You got a question?
a total of tenants.
Total would be-
Five.
maximum would be-
Five.
I would say maximum would be 6.
Oh,
Could be as little as 4. So if somebody were to come in and say, I want 50,000 feet,
Mm-hmm,
it would just be one tenant, but it could be 3.
okay,
3 plus the existing.
okay.
do you have a
Yes, I just wanted to remind you as the board, most of you ladies are pros at this point, but while you're thinking about this application, I just wanted to remind you, NILSA staff report is in your packet,
Mm-hmm,
and these are variances that are being requested. So we've done this before, but I just want to make sure you remember that your application, and it's on page 5 of NILSA's report, but the town's code specifies the 6 variance criteria, which are listed on page 5. So I just want to remind you that as the board here today, you are evaluating the variance requests from the applicant against those criteria. The applicant does have the burden to meet each of those criteria. If you as the board decide that they've met their burden for each of those criteria, then you're obligated to approve it. If you feel that they have not, then you can deny. I would, at the point you get to motioning, I would ask if there is a denial that you specify exactly what criteria you think the applicant hasn't met. So those are the standard instructions. If Nilsa has anything else, I just wanted to remind you that this, the language is on page 5.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Madam Chair, board members. I am your planner. I am a planner for this municipality, for the town of Mangonia Park. And as your planner, I prepared this document. I'm hoping you receive this document.
I don't have it. You have any extra copies? This is all I have.
I am not sure.
Okay.
No,
You have so many papers.
yeah.
And this is on page 5 of this document,
So
the variances.
this is, once the town receive an application, the planner for the town review the application and work with the developer. So
Right.
we've been working on this application for the last 2 months, 3 months.
Since March.
Yes, so it's been a while. So what I would like to mention is that the applicant has been very accepting of our recommendations, such as, for example, one of the recommendations that we had was to actually provide more landscaping to the eastern side to provide buffer for the homes that are on the south side. So the applicant has been cooperating and working with the town. So this staff report just gives you an overview, what exactly are the variants about, what is the history on page 1, just a summary, then page 2, what is the history of this site, and then on page 3 actually presents the historical variances that Colleen just presented. And then on page 4 is the new variances. So this is just a summary of all her presentation. And this is a statement from the town point of view. What do we really think about this application? And so, as she mentioned, some of the provisions, they will be asked to town council later on. That is on page number 4. What they are going to request to town council when this go for preliminary and final site plan. So the most important page is actually page number 5. Page number 5 presents all the 6 criteria that will approve, that give you the basis to approve or not the variance. Page number 5 has all those criteria.
So the town council's gonna do this.
Yeah, those specific requirements, because the existing site, the length of the parking, like it says here, is less than is actually the code now, but the council has that authority that they can approve that. So in a sense, the applicant does not need a variance because there is that other mechanism that is provided by the code.
So, what's your name again? I'm sorry.
Yes, my name is Nilsa.
Milson. Okay, so let's go back because it's a lot of information. So we're here today, one, to approve the historical variances, which is on page 3. Am I right?
Yes,
Okay, and then we're here also to approve the new variances, which is on page 4.
yes,
Right. We have nothing to do with your 6 criteria for for the town council.
No, ma'am, you do. That is your job today, to evaluate. The applicant is here. She's requesting 6 variances today. As you said, 3 are historical and 3 are new. Those criteria on page 5 are the criteria that you use and that the applicant has been presenting to you about. And you can ask her questions if you have questions about any of those criteria, but you are using those criteria here today to evaluate each of the 6 variances that are being requested.
Madam Chair,
That's a
I'm
lot.
also free to ask staff to interpret any of that you would like, and if staff is satisfied, they can have that burden too. You're free to do that as well.
Okay,
And Colleen, can you point them to the page in your application, your justification statement, where you go through the variance criteria? Perhaps you could walk them through the variance criteria and explain to them.
I can, yes. Madam Chair, as part of the various documents that we submit, we are required to submit a detailed justification statement that outlines the requested variances and then also addresses, find it in my stack of paper here, also addresses each of those criteria.
okay, that would be better. I could probably better understand the justification statement.
I've read them all. Got read and read and read.
Do you don't have the justification
The town
statement?
council is doing it.
No.
They have to do all this.
Ms. Griffin, do you have the justification statement?
So as part of the justification statement, we have addressed each of the criteria. And what I can do is go through that criteria for you, and then also let you know, as Nielsen indicated, we have been working with staff since the application's been submitted. So, staff, I believe, finds that our justifications for the variances are sufficient and substantiated. I don't know if staff comes out with a recommendation. Okay.
If you could hold up, Colleen, I'm sorry to interrupt you, hold up your justification so they can all find the correct paper.
Show exactly what it is.
So that's the document.
I don't,
It should be part of the
I don't
package.
have that.
That's not this one.
The only thing I have is this.
Have so many papers.
And if not, I think I can verbally hit on the highlights for compliance with those criteria, if that's acceptable to the board.
What will you do?
What I can do is I can go through the 6 criteria and
That's
give
the
you our
second
responses to them,
That's the
so
second
that
one.
you will have that information.
Oh, that's fine.
So the first standard is that the circumstances and conditions are particular to this site, which they are. This site was developed in the late 1970s, early 1980s. A lot of the conditions that the applicant is working with are existing conditions, and what they are trying to do is to improve it so that it is more modernized and will attract more tenants. So the first historical variances is dealing with the existing conditions. For the new variances, the site is particular because of the configuration of the building, where the interior tenants do not have any access for loading. There's only about 15 feet between the existing building and the north property line, so they have to demolish square footage to be able to get the loading in. So again, a particular situation to this site. The second criteria is that the special conditions do not result from the actions of the applicant. And again, very similar justification. It's an existing site with an existing building. They are working to address those existing conditions. They've made a decision to actually demolish square footage to accommodate that. The third criteria is that these variances do not confer on the applicant any special privilege that would be denied to other lands, buildings, or structures in the same zoning district. and it does not. My understanding, the Board of Adjustment considers these on a case-by-case basis. You hear the facts, you hear the history, you hear the proposal, and you make a decision based on that specific presentation or that specific proposal that's before you. Number 4 is the literal interpretation of this ordinance would deprive the applicants of rights commonly enjoyed by other property owners in a similar district. As you probably know, the building to the east of this site is a moving and storage. They have bay doors that face Hill Avenue. The addition of 2 opportunities here for loading off of Hill Avenue is very similar to what exists. The other variances are also, the parking, for example, if you were to literally interpret the code for the parking requirement, you would have much more parking than you would ever need to fill this building, based on the type of tenants. So a literal interpretation of the code, would cause an undue hardship for the applicant. The 5th criteria is that the variances being requested are the minimum that would make reasonable use of the land. And having worked with staff, as Nielsen indicated, one of the original variances was for a landscape buffer on the east side of the site because there is not one that exists. By working with staff, we've reconfigured the property, we've been able to actually provide that landscape buffer and eliminate a variance request. So these are the minimal variances that would be needed to make a reasonable use of this existing building. And the last criteria is that the variance will be in harmony with the general intent and purposes of the ordinance, the zoning district, and that nothing that is proposed would be injurious to the public welfare. And none of the variances that are proposed would cause any injury to the public welfare, and they're all keeping with the intent and the character of the existing development. So those are the 6 criteria and how they have been addressed in the justification statement.
Okay, we have heard the 6 criteria of the justification statement. Are there any questions or comments? So are we ready for the vote?
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Madam Vice Chair.
Or the motion to accept a motion, right?
Yes, ma'am. Before we get to motioning, if we could, we have folks on Zoom. We need to solicit for public comment. So we need to see if there's anyone on Zoom wishing to make public comment. And then at the end of that, Madam Vice Chair, you'll need to close public comment once Manager Metcalf indicates if anybody is there to comment.
Okay, the floor is open for public comment from Zoom.
Feel free to unmute your mic and we'll call on.
And if we could give them a few seconds, just since it's a bit of a delay at the technology, just give a few seconds to make sure.
Mr. Sharkey?
Yes, thank you.
Name and address.
I have been watching the presentation since it began.
Hold on, sir, just 1 second. Can you state your name and address for the record?
My name is Donald Sharkey. My address is 18780 127th Drive North, Jupiter. However, my business is located at 1620 Hill Avenue, directly across the street from subject property.
Okay, thank you, sir. Go ahead with your comment.
Pardon me?
Go ahead with your comments and you have 3 minutes.
Sir, I've been paying attention to the presentation since it began, and because of the situation being remote, mostly what I've heard is a lot of garble. I could not see the presentation on the screens. I haven't been presented with any of the information in any kind of printed form, and I'm really having a hard time understanding exactly what is being proposed at this point. I would like to comment on this. I'm very much so in favor of the neighbor across the street improving his facilities and helping not only his business, but my business and the town's business. But at this point, I just don't understand what exactly the proposal is because of the remote distance presentation. I'm sorry.
And with our apologies to everyone, we have gone to many efforts, you know, and everyone is speaking through mask also, but we've gone through many efforts to make this as clear as we could, and that's just simply the best we could do. I have offered up to you previously that Ira, the general manager, you know, that we would set up a meeting and that you would have the availability and the opportunity to speak with him and ask him all questions and all concerns that you have. And I think at this point, that is probably the best we can do.
Sir, I thank
And
you
that's
for,
fine. I would look forward to a meeting such as that. But I feel like I'd like to have the opportunity to have that meeting prior to a decision being made today.
sir, for the sake of time, I want to thank you for your comment. And we will give you consideration in what you're asking.
We thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Ms. Robbins? Ms. Robbins, do you have comments?
She don't know how to unmute her mic.
So, Madam Vice Chair, if there are no further public comments, you can close the floor to public comment.
Okay, the floor is now closed for public comment. Are we ready for the-
No, public comment has now been closed, so you can proceed with any other discussion the board has or any motions to be made on this item.
Okay, do we have a motion on the justification statement to accept the criteria that they have explained to us? Do we have a motion on the floor for that?
I make a motion that we do accept the applicant request for BA 2020-03 Alliance HSP West Palm Beach Warehouse LLC, Morris Avenue, Suite 230, Bryn Mawr, PA, that's right, 19010. Where the applicant requests the Board of Adjustment to grade variances for Appendix A
You could just say
as
as stated.
stated. And we have another one, right?
Right, but we're not done yet.
Okay.
Just hold on till we.
Okay, are we ready for the, I need a second.
I'll second it.
So the motion has been, motioned by Lorraine and second by Louise to accept the justification statement. Okay.
To your, if I may correct.
Now
yes.
we're ready for, the vote. Roll call, excuse me.
Chairperson Robbins. Vice Chair Frederick.
Yes.
Board Member Chandler. Yes. Board Member Pierce.
Yes,
And alternate Board Member Griffin.
Yes.
Great. Madam Chair, board members, on behalf of Alliance HSP, thank you very much for your time and consideration.
thank you.
Thank you.
What we have, Ann?
I love those trees they're putting in. They're making that look real nice.
Oh, I said, I should have accepted this motion to accept the variances. That's what I should have made the motion for.
Yes. If we could take just a very quick recess, let me ask Manager Metcalf a question before we move forward on the agenda.
Board members, can we take a,
Yes, ma'am.
couple of minutes in recess? Thank you.
Some water.
Thank you again, Ms. Wilkins. It was a lot, but thank you. Mhm.
Thank you. And Madam Vice Chair, we're just waiting, Manager Metcalf is getting the second applicant, they're outside, so we just need time to bring them in.
Okay.
This is these. This one?
No, this is
Too much at once.
That's so many papers. I'm sorry.
That's so different.
Okay, what is this? This is that, I know what this is.
I have this.
Oh, we are, oh, this is the, see, where is the
This,
second application?
this it?
part of it, you should have an application.
But this right
I
here.
can't find that one over there on Foster and,
It looks like this,
This is the last thing.
I think it's in that side over there, in your folder.
this broke. No, this is Burnmar.
Find it?
No, this is Burnmar.
This is
You too.
Okay, same to you.
Be safe.
We are now ready to convene and, take the second applicant for the Board of Adjustments meeting. Are you the second applicant? I think you have to state your name and be sworn.
Is this it?
Yes, sir. Hold on just one second. I'll read it into the record. Did everybody find the applications?
Yes.
This is
Yep,
it.
that's it. This, let me just read the agenda item into the record. It's BA 2020-04 Evtech Marine LLC, 3037 Marabella Court, West Palm Beach, Florida, 33409. The applicant requests the Board of Adjustment grant a variance of 20 feet from required 40-foot front yard setback on the west side, Australian Avenue, a variance of 20 feet from the required 40-foot front yard setback on the south side, Foster Road, a variance of 15 feet from the required 40-foot front yard setback on the north side, 48th Street, and a variance of 17 feet from the required 20-foot rear yard setback to allow the new construction of a 3,360-foot building in the industrial zoning district at 4808 Australian Avenue, Roebuck subdivision, lots 23-24 and lot 25. PCN is also listed. Sir, can you state your name for the record? And you're the property owner?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. This is a quasi judicial hearing, so I need to swear you in. Can you raise your right hand for me? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you, sir. And I'll turn back to the board. This again is a quasi judicial proceeding, so I need to ask you if there are any ex parte communications with regard to this application.
No.
Okay, thank you. And you can, I'll turn it back to you, Madam Vice Chair, and you can ask the applicant to make any presentation he has.
Are you ready to make your presentation?
Well, basically, I have, which I have presented to Sherry. I didn't know, she said the meeting would be at 11, but I didn't know what to bring. So I basically have a site plan, which we have.
This is the one they're doing right here.
So you can see right here.
And sir, if you could stay at the microphone, and I'm sorry, and put your mask back over. Thank you, sir.
You can see on the site plan right here, we are marrying the boat repairs, and currently we're working in different marinas. So for us, in the better future and to serve better.
I can't understand him.
Excuse me, sir, I can't understand you
I can't
through the
understand.
mask. It's as long as he's 6 feet away from you, it should be okay. But
But
would
he's
you
not 6
tell
feet away
me
from
and
her.
state the name, state your name first? And exactly where is this we're talking about?
Okay, so this is, so my name is Steve Evans.
Steve Owens,
Steve Evans,
Steve Evans,
yes.
Mm-hmm.
okay,
And the company name is F-Tech Marine.
okay.
It's a marine,
Oh,
company.
it's EU, TEC,
Yeah,
Uh,
EV.
EV,
Yeah.
oh, EV Tech,
F-Tech.
okay, okay, all right.
So we are, proposing this building to put up on 48 Road on the lots there, so we can have our employees and the building to work from the inside. So we'll do repairs on the inside on boats, we bring them in, do the repair, and then send them off to where they wanna go.
What are you going to do in the building, and how high, is this 2-story or?
So, if you can see right here, it looks like a school building, but to the front here will be the office area, and this to the back here will be.
Australian would be the office?
No, the building is gonna be on the lot right at 4808, you can see. So the warehouse section is gonna be, 18 feet. Yeah, 18 feet high, and, the office area will be 10 feet high. So the office, so you can see right here, so this one here is closer to.
I can't
Australian
see that, I
Avenue.
can't see that from here.
And the other one with, the taller one will be to the back, towards the back, so you will have the office spaces to the front, and you will be working in the back. And this is a layout right here, so if you, you could bring it closer and you could see the drawing right.
Yeah, I need to see it close.
You can get up and go see.
'Cause I'm not real familiar with it. Okay, what's that?
Oh, it's gonna be.
What does he have in the freezer? I can't understand. I'm looking at this one here,
And
Australian and Foster and.
just a reminder, he brought a site plan, but you're not actually approving the site plan today.
Oh.
You're just approving variances, so,
Right.
and the gentleman, he can speak to this, but you've gone through the town staff level DRC review, correct? And you spoke with
It's okay.
Van,
Yes, we
with-
already did that and so
It's
forth.
okay.
right,
They
and,
approved, this, because we did several changes and they said to move it forward, move it backward, and we have the appropriate parking spots and everything. So the building actually gonna face, the front of the building is gonna face on Australian Avenue.
right, sir, and when Mr. Van Cott, who's the town's engineer, you've designed this and you've made this flow in accordance with what he recommended to you, is that?
Yes, ma'am.
I just want the board to understand that he's worked with town staff and that this design, although that's not what you're approving today,
Just the variance.
that's, yeah, you're approving the several variants that he's asked for, but those variances are created because of the way that he's designed this with town staff
Yeah.
and at the recommendation of town staff. So Van is not here today, I just want to make that clear.
So the town okayed it, and we just do the variances.
Yes, that's all you're considering today, yes, ma'am, are the variances.
Okay, so we actually just need a motion for the variances. Okay, we need a motion and a second to accept the variances of the indoor boat repair, Evic Marine LLC. Do I have any questions or comments?
And if I could, Madam Vice Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt again, just so it's very clearly listed on your agenda, but he's asking for a variance on the front yard setback of 20 feet, a variance of 20 feet on the front yard setback on Foster, the first one was for Australian Avenue, a variance of 15 feet from the front yard setback on 48th Street, a variance of 17 feet from the rear yard setback. So those are the variances that he's asking you for here today for your consideration. It's again, the same criteria, and you can speak to this, sir, but the site is a peculiar shape, is that right?
Yes, ma'am, that's the reason why we're requesting the variance.
Right, so the same criteria that you just heard the previous application, each of those 6 criteria is to be applied here. You can see from his site plan that it's a kind of a triangular shape. Can you speak to that a little bit, sir?
Yes, it's an awkward shape, so to the back, it's like that. So that's why, when we did the site plan, the engineer said we must pull it forward, more, because we have several, and he said, do some adjustment, and we did that. So we pull it forward, so he said the fire truck and all those stuff can move in the back. And he gave us what we need to comply with regarding the green spaces, which we agree at all of those and so forth.
And your site also actually has 3 frontages, is that right? It fronts
Yeah.
on 3 streets? That's not
Yes.
typical. Normally, a property has 1 frontage, so your setback requirements typically are more stringent in the front yard. His property actually has 3 street frontages because it's a triangle, so that's why he's here before you today.
Yes. So we have, Australian Avenue, and then we have Foster and 48th Street, so, yeah.
So if he were to develop his property in accordance with the front yard setbacks, that would leave very little developable space, right? Because the setbacks are from the roadway to the building line to where he could build. If he were to have to meet all 3 of those, that would be, leave him a very small space to develop.
So did anybody say anything about the property having trees and stuff around it? Because you couldn't put too many big trees around there because of the
Speaking your mic.
Speaking your mic.
I knew the way it's shaped, you couldn't put too many big high trees there, just small ones.
Yes, we're only gonna have small trees, and he laid out, we're gonna have a green area right to the front.
Because when the cars come up, they couldn't see down Australian.
Yes, so, and they also instruct us that we must always leave, once we're open, we leave the 2 gates open, so vehicles, so there's no blockage of anything and so forth. So he already stated that to us.
That's good.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Would you state the address? 4808 what?
4808.
What's the name? The street?
Australian Avenue.
Australian.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Because I have 2 I gotta choose the property owner and I have to use the applicant. So, thank you. All right, are we now ready to, anybody have any more comments or questions on the variances that we have been before us? Okay, then
If we could check for public comment, Madam Vice Chair.
public comment.
Public comment from Zoom?
Okay, we can officially close public comment and ask the board for a motion to accept the required variances of UTEC Marine or what it's asking for. So can I get a motion from the board in a second?
I make a motion that we approve BA 2020-404 EVTEC Marine LLC 3037 Marlboro Court for a variance of 20 feet from the required 40 feet front yard setback on the south side of Foster Avenue, a variance of 15 feet from the required 40 front yard setback in the north side, 48th Street, and a variance of 17 feet from the required 20 feet rear yard setback to allow the new construction of a 3,360 feet building in the industrial zone, 4808 Industrial Avenue, Roebuck subdivision.
Okay, it has been motioned that we accept the setbacks for EvTech Marine LLC. Is there a second? Okay, it has been properly motioned and second to accept the setback request of the company. May I have roll call? Yes.
Board Member Chandler? Yes. Board Member Pierce?
Yes.
And alternate Board Member Griffin?
Here,
Passed unanimously?
yes.
Yes.
Okay, You have your acceptance for us. Okay, good luck. Okay, the Board of Adjustment meeting is,
You have one more item. You have comments of the public on non-agenda items or any comments of the board.
I'm sorry,
You have agenda item 4, if there is anything, before you adjourn.
I have what, public comment before I leave?
Yes, ma'am. Agenda item number 4 is comments of the public and of the board.
Okay, and are there any comments of the public or the board before we adjourn this meeting?
Any public comments from Zoom?
Okay, there are no comments from the board or public comments. So we are now adjourning the Board of Adjustment meeting for today at 12:11 p.m. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
After this, you don't need to go on, do it.
That's correct.
We can shred them?
You can probably leave them here.
Yeah.
I think Sherry usually makes them, doesn't she?
Uh-huh.
You can probably leave them here, but you can shred them too. That's, or recycle them.